I'd like to talk to you about composition. It's one of the most fundamental and yet most complex aspects of painting and drawing. There are many guidelines out there, and there are just as many artists who dismiss those and make wonderful work. So good to know about, but you don't have to feel like you have to slavishly adopt these practices. For me, I think the important thing is that your composition should reflect the kind of painting that you want to create and the mood of that painting. So your composition could be lively and dynamic, but you might want something more balanced and calm. The important thing is to spend a few moments before you start painting considering what you want this painting to convey, and how the composition will help you to do that. Composition is one part of what makes a painting work. The other parts are tone, colour, marks, edges, and those all help to carry through the idea. So I'm going to talk about those other subjects in following videos. One method that can help you to design your composition, it's a very simple one, is to use a viewfinder. When you look at your subject through a viewfinder, it almost gives you a little framed painting almost that you can, it helps you to visualise better what it is that you're going to paint. This one's made of two heart-shaped pieces of scrap card, and you can clip it into various shapes with paper clips. And ideally, I suppose, you have your window at the same ratio as the canvas or the sketchbook or whatever it is that you're using. So for an A4 type size, you might have your aperture at 3 inches by 4 inches. So you can clip those together and then look at your subject through this, and it will help to give you a sense of what your painting will be like, and it also gives you a sense of some of the options that you have with your subject too. So you only use this at the beginning of the process, and you can make a sketch in a sketchbook just to try out the idea, or do what I do, and that's put a rough, very watery, thin sketch onto the canvas board that you're painting on. And then at that point you can sit back and have a look at what the idea looks like, and see if there are any problems that you need to fix or changes that you need to make at that point. It's a good idea also to incorporate lots of tone into these initial sketches. Don't just rely on a linear sketch, because that helps to give you the bigger shape of the painting, and that's a helpful thing to do. So coming up, I've got some images that I took, some photographs that I took through the viewfinder to show you some of the compositions that I considered before starting my painting. And then a short clip introducing the painting itself, and then a small time lapse for you to watch as well. Enjoy! This landscape view is very closely cropped, and the flowers and leaves are almost filling the viewfinder, which gives a lot less space for the background and allows more focus on the flowers and leaves. In this landscape composition, the flower arrangement is much smaller and the shadows and background are more prominent. And this is the composition I selected. The portrait format gives emphasis to the tall glass, which leads the eye up to the pink flowers. The shadows create interesting shapes in the enclosed space beneath the leaves. I'll sketch it out loosely in very watery paint. Let's get the shapes down. I need to put some paint out. I've got titanium white here. This is acrylic paint. Titanium white, cadmium yellow, alizarin red, French ultramarine blue, burnt sienna and burnt umber. I'm just going to mix some of the French ultramarine and the burnt sienna together to give a sort of dull greyish green colour, and I can just sketch out the shapes on here and have a look at what I've got with this composition. So my glass is going on this third section. If you visually sort of chop it up into 3 sections across the board, so 2 horizontal lines there, 2 verticals there, and where they cross is often a good place to put a point of interest. So I can put those, give that a wipe. pink flowers here. So very thin paint at first, then you can just kind of put things in. You can even rub them away while they're still wet. And if I squint at this, I can see areas of light and dark. Very simply, it takes away the detail and just gives you the very simplest shapes to work with. It's really nice as it's getting darker. The electric lights in here are making these wonderful shadows at the back of the arrangement. I've got a canvas propped at the back here to make a simple background, and I'm just using a number 6, I think, round-ended brush to sketch this in. It doesn't kind of matter too much what you do, it's just kind of getting in shapes, rough shapes, something to work with and something to think about. I've also got some liquid slow drying medium gel here to help the paint not to dry too fast, so you can move it around a little bit. Try and get some blues in. I'm thinking in terms of temperature here. Bluish kind of shadows. And I'll go to a time lapse now so you can watch this a little bit faster. So there it is, all done. As you can see, it's quite painterly, and I like not blending the colours together on the canvas. Those flowers there I just did with one simple stroke for each petal and then put a touch of light on. Quite happy with that. Okay. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.